Hi everyone, this is Selvi. Today's topic is what are the best practices in assignment and status flow in work items. So we already discussed about the task related best practices, how to create it and how to handle it and how to manage the task. Today we are going to discuss about how are we going to have the assignment as well the status flow in the work items. So during sprint planning, as Agile is all about self-organized teams, team picks up the work that they want to work on based on the priority as well the alignment with the sprint goal. So that will be automatically taken care by the product owner with the team. So as a overall team, we know that what is the sprint goal, and according to the sprint goal, we pick up the work items. So now team knows what are the things that they are going to work, and they as they are self-organized team, everyone knows that as an individual what they are going to work. Now we also talked about task breakdown. Now the next important thing is, as a stakeholder or any person, how are they going to understand who is working on that particular work item and how is the status flow happening in that work item? It is very important. I'm going to talk about two practices, but the catch here is do not mix up these practices. Either pick option 1 or option 2, not both. And I will also tell why both of them will not work, that what are the disadvantage if you mix up both the options. Now, there are two important fields that are available in any work item. I am going to talk about the high level work item the team is working, that is called as user story. Now, within user stories, you have multiple tasks which are being worked by multiple people. Now, there is always a confusion. If multiple people are working on a particular user story, who should be the assignee that should be filled on the assignee field in the user story work item? And there is also another question. There is a field called status. How are we going to change this field called status? Are we going to mention it as in progress or planned or done? How are we going to do it and when we can change it? These are very common questions which we get. And another thing is we need to really make this as a part of process, and team should be aligned on how are we going to pick up the option. Now, for any third person who is watching, what is the disadvantage? Let me explain so that we will be able to understand why these options are required and why we need to make this as a part of process. Let's consider I am a third person. Okay, I am able to see a person name in the title, in the assignee field of the work item. Now I can understand from the assignee name, okay, this person is a developer if I know about the team. Otherwise, I don't know whether testing is going on or design is going on or development is going on or documentation is going on. We don't know. So all these things are called as work streams. What are called as work streams? Design, development, quality, that is testing, documentation. These all things we call it as different work streams. So which work stream is currently in progress? No one knows because just a person name is there. And in status, it is also mentioned as in progress. So something, actually team is still working, they have not completed, but what they are working, I need to open the work item and see which task is actually in progress. Maybe testing task, the title may say the test or QA, or design which may say design, something like that, which will help me to understand what exactly is going on. And the second problem is always it is in progress. Why can't we actually mention it somewhere? What is happening, what is actually in progress, whether it is design in progress or quality in progress, what is happening inside the team, how to understand? So two options I am going to explain now, and this will also help us to plan our board that we use, because the columns that represent in the tool what we use, it may be Jira or Azure DevOps, it is the same that we use in the physical board as well. So now the very important thing to resolve all these issues, like for any person to understand what is happening in any work item and to have a collaboration within the team about the status flow, we are going to bring up two options. First option, keep the assignee fixed. keep the assignee fixed and change the status alone. Second option is keep the status fixed and change the assignee alone. So there are two parameters there. I am going to only talk about two fields. One is assignee field and another one is status field. Keep one as constant, keep on changing the other. In the other option is vice versa. It's like if you are keeping the first option uh, as like the static option, then the next option will be become the dynamic. Like that you change it. So it is very simple. If you are keeping assignee as fixed, change your status. If you are keeping status as fixed, change your assignee. Now how are we going to do it? Let's talk about first option, that is keeping your assignee fixed and change the status. Now this is applicable for the teams which are using almost every work stream. When I say every work stream, you have some designers, you have some documentation writers, you have some front end developers, you have some back end developers, you have some QA, you have automation. There are different work streams that's happening in a single team, and every work item goes through all these work streams to say that it is done. So for any board, for anyone to understand what we are doing, the task will be keep moving, or the relevant task will be in that particular thing until it is done. For example, if it is QA happening, the QA related task will be in the QA column. So as there are multiple work streams that are involved in this work item and the team is also dealing that kind of project, what we are doing, the physical board has different columns. Like for example, planned items will be there in the whatever the sprint backlog items we have. What are the other things we have? All the tasks will be moving from planned to the respective work stream columns. For example, first column will be mentioning about the work stream related to design. Second, it will be about front end design, then back end design, then architectural review, design review, then actual coding, unit test case design. Like that you have different subtask level board, or you can call it as work stream level board. Like at least design, development, QA, documentation, these kind of things are available. Automation testing, all these things are available on the board. Now what are we doing? When the first person who is picking up the user story during the sprint planning, that person will be holding that work item till the end. When I say till the end, that is when all the task related to that particular work item is done and the work item is meeting definition of done checklist. That is the time it will be assigned to the product owner. Till that time, it will be in the name of the person, and we are not going to change that assignee field any time during the execution of sprint. Till the end, that is definition of done meeting stage, the assignee is going to be the same person. What is going to change? All the column headers what we are using in the board, that we have loaded in the drop down of the status field. Like for example, design, development, design review, then QA, automation, uh, automation feasibility and coding, then documentation. All these things are on the status column. So what will happen? Very first day, the designer will pick up the uh, task related to what he or she will be doing, and the person will be working on that. Same time, test case are written by the tester. So here, the first major flow of the task that should be completed, that should be mandatorily completed. Test case design is like some parallel task, right? For the time being, tester is completing and making. But what is tester's main job? Tester's main job is test case execution. So the parallel job is not going to sit on the status. What is going to sit on the status? Design is going to sit on the status, because now design is the core job that this work item is going through. So the assignee is going to be same. Like if Selvi has picked up the work item on the sprint planning day, Selvi is going to be the assignee. Now that we are not going to change. What is going to change? Only the status field. Status field is going to have design. Now design related things, parallelly many people will be working on many tasks in this. For example, already documentation person has something to start with, so the documentation person has started the work. test case design is being carried out by the tester, and already designer is designing the things. Now once the design is done, the assignee column will not get changed. What will get changed? Status will get changed to coding. Now the person who is going to code, that person will be picking up the task related to coding, and the coding related activities will be carrying out in this particular time. And now once that is done, it will be moved to QA. Like this, only the status changes will be keep happening in the work item and not the assignee. So what is the advantage now for any person who is looking at, okay, what is happening? The thing that is happening now is, it is the team has many number of people, and if you change only the assignee name, no one knows like who is working on what, because around 8 members team is there and it is a new team, and we are going by every work stream level what is happening. So it is always the best to keep the assignee field as fixed and keep on changing the status field. So that's the reason the status field gives much more value when someone else is watching from outside what is happening in this work item. Okay, so they won't really look for what is the assignee field talking about. They will look for what is the status field talking about. Oh, design is completed, now they are doing coding. Oh, coding is done, looks like they are doing testing. Likewise, the status will be keep getting changed. So the advantage when this can be used, when this kind of option can be used, is when you have a new team and you want to really streamline the process by adding each and every work stream in a detailed way with the board, and that same kind of representation you want to mimic in the status field, that is the time you will be using this. So here you will be keeping the assignee field fixed and you'll be keep changing this. What is the disadvantage if we keep changing the assignee field? There is no as such disadvantage. There is a overhead activity. You sometimes, if for example, I have changed the status, I am done with my design work, I'm just my work is done, developer need to start. I can very well complete my design activity and change the status to coding and ask my developer to start the work, or give a heads up to the developer or the team in the stand-up meeting saying that, hey, my design work is done, now you people can start. That way of collaboration you can do, as we have discussed in our task related best practices itself. You can collaborate within the tool or use your daily stand-up if your daily stand-up comes first, once your work is done. So you can do in any way. But if in case you are not assigning it back, the chances are, if you do both of the things, it will always undergo confusions. The reason is, if I'm not changing the person assignee name, only I've changed the status, or I have not even changed the status, I've just informed in the stand-up, what will happen? The problem is, actually my work is done, I have not informed, I'm not updated here. At least if we have this kind of only status updates that's happening through the board, the other person will get to know, hey, design is completed, it's my time to start now the coding. Now if we set the expectation like, you should change the status also, you should change the assignee also, if something gets missed out, there is a chance that it may not go through. So we are trying to optimize the process. We should not create some overhead on the process. That's why we are trying to minimize what we can do, but at the max what we can get out of it. So here we are making the assignee fixed and changing the status. Now, in which teams this will be beneficial? For new teams which are trying to learn the different work streams and the flow, and many people are working in the team, so it is very hard to remember from the assignee list who is working on what. So in those cases this is really beneficial, that the status column will tell what exactly is going on, and no need to worry about who is the person who is working, because at the end it is all about team. So actually which work stream is getting concentrated, we'll get to know. Now this is about the first option. The second option is, keep your status fixed and change the assignee. So now let's try to understand what are the disadvantages we saw in the last option. Those all things will be rectified here. Teams which are actually having very minimum number of people, maximum 2 to 3 people. That's the team size, because it's a very, very small team which is doing some maintenance activity. And they don't want to go through so many level of work streams. It's all simple thing. There is no as such major design or anything. It is majorly the development, then the testing, then it's done. Then in those cases, it is not really required to have the detailed understanding of what is happening, because only three people, you will get to know from the name itself what is happening. So in the assignee, first day, the person is picking up. For example, I am picking up. I am a developer. I am working on that particular work item. Once my work is done, actually, when I'm working from planned status, I will change to in progress status. After that, there will not be any change. The day we are actually picking up these work and putting it in our sprint backlog, it will be in the status of planned. There are only three status. Okay, very simple: planned, in progress, done. So what will happen now? When actually it is planned, it is in the sprint backlog. When as a developer or any team member who have started working, it will be changed to in progress. It will remain as in progress till the end, till the product owner accepts the work item. It will be in progress. Once the product owner accepts, it will be changed from in progress to done. So only three states, very simple status. So now when it is planned, everyone will get to know, okay, it is just to be a part of the sprint backlog, but not yet started the work. Once it is in progress will remain maybe 8 days of the sprint. If the length of the sprint is like 2 weeks, maybe 8 days it is in progress only. But how to understand what is exactly happening? Through the assignee field. So the assignee field will be having detail like what is the developer, who is the developer. So because only three people, you will be easily getting to know who is working on what. It's a very small team and very specific roles. Like there are no much things in the board to display. It's a very simple 3-column board: planned, in progress, done. That's it. So now the status is going to be fixed in progress. Only the assignee will be keep changing. When I am working the developer, I'll be actually keep on adding all the working on all the tasks that are related to development. And once my work is done, I'll go and change the assignee and change it to my tester, who will be continuing the test activity related to that. So automatically when the assignee names get changed, the person knows that okay, this is the time I need to pick up and start the testing, and they will be continuing that. Once they are done with that testing and they are confirming that okay, all the things are met, and whatever it is expected out of the work item is actually meeting, now it is time to pass this work item to the product owner. They will change the assignee to the product owner. Now product owner will be going through the things whatever it is supposed to be delivered as part of this work item. And once it is taken care, and if the work item is in a position to be accepted, then product owner will change the status from in progress to done. So this is the second option. So this is useful, very very useful in the places where we have very minimum number of people in the team and very very less number of work streams that has been used in the status flow. There are no too many things. It is maybe a very simple project and maybe a maintenance project, so we no need to have too many work streams. So in those cases this is very helpful. Now we understood about the option 1 and option 2. Now what is the disadvantage of combining two? I already mentioned a point. We want to optimize the process. We want to understand what is the nature of our project, how many people are working, what is the nature of our board that we need to create, because whether too many work streams are there, so that the clarity we need to bring more, or it is a very simple project where we can have less number of columns on the board. What will work? And whether it is a new team or already an established team, how many members are available in the team, what is the nature of the product, everything matters while bringing up the board as well as picking up these options. And the second thing is, when we try to club these two, it will not give any benefit, rather it will give more questions and confusions. The reason is, as I mentioned, you are putting extra overhead work to your developers by changing the status, by changing the assignee. It is really not required, because our tool itself has a lot of collaboration facilities. And as I mentioned, you encourage team members to have the work items getting added as part of the watch list, and as well tagging the right people for right questions and right clarifications when things are getting moved. Keep on adding those kind of process, so that that will be more beneficial, and we are using the tool also the maximum to give us the maximum value. Whereas if we try to add more and more work to the team, it is actually a kind of overhead where we can optimize that particular process in a simpler way. So that's the reason, don't club these two options. Instead, have any one of these options selected based on the nature of the work, based on the nature of the project and the size of the team. That way it will be really beneficial, so that it will give much more effective value to the team, as well for all the stakeholders who are visiting the board and seeing what is happening within the team. I hope this would have been a helpful episode to understand about the best practices related to assignment and status flow of work items. Thank you everyone for listening. Happy learning and stay tuned.